traveler. So you've made it to the halfway point. Or is it the point of no return? Head into the void or fall into the abyss. Risk your life or face the ridicule. Take the leap or drop to your knees. Climb the ladder or slide down the snake. Yes, it's from Snakes and Ladders. It's not a children's game. It's terrifying if you think about it. It's apt. It's Dead Reckoning, episode 5. Tonight, we catch a killer.
Join us.
Lewis has injured himself at jiu-jitsu. He can't really move around very much. And he needs help. I just got him a really long straw to drink out of and left him downstairs. He's got his grabber. He can get to his water, and he's got the remote, so he should be fine. Well, I only have some short windows in which to watch stuff, and I used one up watching Arachnophobia, which Jed's going to talk about later on. So that only left me with one. That only left me with one night to watch something. But we watched. It's actually not a horror film. However, it is a horror film. So we watched the trailer a couple of months ago for a film called The Iron Claw, which is about a family of wrestlers, like WWE type wrestlers in America, and it's got Zac Efron in it. Is the only kind of well-known person apart from Lily James, and we were like, oh, that seems like a fun kind of sports biopic romp. That's something we should watch. Oh, holy shit! It's the most horrific film I've ever seen. It's absolutely terrifying. It's this family where the dad is obsessed with one of his. He feels like the heavyweight wrestling belt was denied to him, so he's got. I think in the end he has 6 sons, and he wants all of them to be wrestlers. He wants that belt. He's desperate to get it, and it's the sort of story of them all trying to get the heavyweight belt. But you're watching it, and it's sort of like, okay, all right, this is chugging along, and then it's just relentlessly tragic over and over again. It's like the boy version of the Virgin Suicides. You know, have you seen that film? There it's all like it's just sort of like, oh, it's sad, and the parents are a bit harsh on the girls, and then it's just dead, and that's exactly what this film is like. So one of the sons who's played, it's directed by Sean Durkin, who's actually is his 3rd feature, and the other 2 are both psychological like thrillers, and you can really tell because of the way it's shot. So they've got this. They've got the oldest son. His name is Kevin, and that's Zac Efron, and he isn't allowed to go for this belt. They let the younger brother do it. The younger brother dies of an internal hemorrhage on this big fight night when he's over in Japan. And you're like, oh shit, he's died. Someone's died in the film. That's sad. And they don't even linger over the funeral or anything. It's just kind of like, you don't see him die.
We've got another few deaths to get going here.
That's why I was like, that's a bit odd.
Don't waste any time on this one.
He's like a main character, and you don't see him die. He dies off screen. All you see is like a car drive up to the house, and then to tell someone something, and then they're like, oh yeah, he's dead. He died of a hemorrhage. And you're like, oh shit. So then you think, all right, the dad straight away is like, so who's going to go for his belt?
The dad's like, fucking hell.
Like, yeah, it really is. It's that kind of like, oh, bloody hell. Couldn't even stay alive for 2 years to get me that belt. He's like, so who's going to go for his belt? And Zac Efron's like, I will, father. I will go for the belt. And then the other son, the youngest son, is like, no, I want to do it. And they flip a coin, and he goes, right, the younger son's going to go for the belt. So he goes for the belt. He gets the belt. And I'm like, he's to celebrate. He goes on a bike ride on a motorbike, and you can guess what happens next. So he's speeding along the road. You see him speeding along the road, and it's all filmed like a horror. It's like a weird POV shots, and then like sort of, and you just sort of you see him on the bike, and then you see his like startled face as he's driving. And then the next scene, like, he's getting out of bed, he's on crutches, and you don't really see. And then he he just walks into the scene, and yeah, his foot's gone. It's gone. It's just gone. And you're like, oh shit, what happened? What happened there? So one dead, one's an amputee. So the next brother steps up to be the next champion. He hurts himself in the ring, has a routine shoulder operation, and ends up in a coma. So then he's like, comes out of a coma, and he's like, I can't wait to wrestle again. And I'm like, oh Jesus. So he's got brain damage. And then Zac Efron's like, maybe I finally get a shot at the belt. And then just after that, like, the one who's the amputee killed, and also I'm getting all my deaths mixed up. So yeah, the one who's got the brain damage kills himself, and then the one who's the amputee also kills himself. And I was just like, for fuck's sake, it's just relentlessly tragic. And it's like, there's a scene at the end which in any other film you would be like, yeah, it's corny old nonsense. But like, Zac Efron sat like watching his two kids playing football. They're like 8 and 10 or something. And he just starts crying his eyes out. And the little boys come over and they're like, what's the matter, Daddy? And he's like, I was just thinking I used to be a brother. And like, oh my God, I was crying. I was like, what the fuck is this? Oh God, it's like, I'm not a brother anymore. And the kid's like, we'll be your brothers, Daddy. And I'm like, oh, don't let them wrestle, for fuck's sake, don't let them wrestle. And it's shot like a horror film. It's paced like a horror film. And it's just got these mad reveals of like just horrific death all the time. And so it finishes, me and Lewis are kind of looking at each other going like, what the fuck did we were supposed to be watching a fun wrestling film, we thought, and now we're both crying our eyes out, staring at each other. We had to go to the pub just to like think about things. We were like, Lewis was like, I think I need to call my sister. And I was like, yeah, I feel like calling my brother, but it's too late. It's too late.
When Lewis came back from jiu-jitsu damaged,
I was like,
is he actually locked up in a cupboard somewhere, Kirsty? You're not doing it!
He's trying to make a cup of tea with hands shaking. It's like, I can't take this anymore.
Well, I was kind of, yeah, the trauma was bad enough. And then this morning I was sat happily on the settee playing Power Wash Simulator. And then I just hear this like, oh, ow, ow. I'm like, oh, fuck, what's happened to you? And he's like, oh, I've had a bit of an incident. I was like, oh my God. But like, we can't have any sporting injuries and fucking deaths in this family. We've had, and I realised of course I was straight on Wikipedia looking at like, if the sons survived, the Kevin's kids, and it's like, they were wrestlers too. And so was this other, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, but they're all fine. But I saw that they actually had another brother who also died, and they had to leave that out. It was a wrestler who also died, and they left that. He committed suicide as well, and they left that out of the film. It's almost like we can't do that again. Do you know what I mean? We've just done that twice.
It's too samey.
Yeah. They had a whole other brother called Chris, who was also a wrestler who also killed himself.
A whole other brother.
A whole other brother.
Two legs.
They just never mention him. And it's like, how mad is it that they had to leave tragedy out of the film to make it more believable? They had to leave an extra death. And I was just like, oh my God. So, yeah, if you want to watch a horror film that's supposed to be a sports film, if you want to trick someone into watching a horror film, put on the Iron Claw.
Also, considering all that, the most tragic thing in that film is still Zac Efron's haircut.
He looks like He-Man. He looks like, I was like, who does he remind me of? I'm like, He-Man. And
especially because he's lifting the belt up, and I'm like, oh, he looks exactly like He-Man.
Yeah. I was like, he's the same shape. He does look like someone's photoshopped Zac Efron's face onto like a big He-Man doll. And there is a bit at the wedding where he kind of starts to like, because like Lewis doesn't really know Zac Efron in the same way that like high school, old or slightly older people do. Because so he's just like, oh, Zac Efron, yeah, I know he was in something in the past, and it's like, no, Lewis, he's about to dance. This is Zac Efron. He's about to dance, Lewis. He's gonna do it. It's like he gets that moment where it's like, yep, this is what I can do. And then his brother starts vomiting blood into the toilet, and then in the next scene, he's dead in Japan. Someone on Letterboxd just gave it the review, 4 funerals and a wedding. Like, exactly. So that was I couldn't stand anything else after that. I was like, I'm not watching any other horror films.
Wow.
So that's all I have to contribute, just a week full of horror. And do you know what? It's one of those films that you just wake up still thinking about it. I was like, oh God. They're all, they're fine. They're fine now. But
Yeah,
Jesus
I'm not really
Christ.
big into those movies that are just devastating. Like, I want a monster in there. I don't want just complete devastation and to just be left shocked to my core for days afterwards.
Well, we were talking also about so there's not that I want to plug the podcast on this one, but there's a podcast called Films to Be Buried With, where the premise is like what one DVD or would you take to the afterlife, or what's your favorite film, or what's the film that's made you cry the most. And one of them is the film that you've seen but you would never tell anybody else to watch, and you would actively tell them not to watch. And Tom Allen, the comedian, was on, and he said someone gave him a copy of Dancer in the Dark for his birthday. And I don't know if you've seen Dancer in the Dark, but it is the most bleak, horrific film. There is not a single moment of joy in that film. There's no one smiles. It's a musical, for fuck's sake. And it's like, it's the saddest film, the most tragic film. And it's kind of like, it's a weird, Iron Claw's weird because it's a sports film where no one celebrates winning anything. You never see them happy and going, yay, we won. You never see that. Like when they finally, Kerry Von Erich wins the fucking belt that they've all been desperate to get hold of, the shot is just him in the kitchen with the lights off with the belt on the table, and they both kind of look like they couldn't give a shit and they're kind of glad it's over. And there's no celebration. There's not even for a second like, yay, we did it. There's none of that at all. It's just, yeah, there's a fucking belt, Dad. Are you happy? And then they've got like Chekhov's gun. So like Kerry actually buys a gun for his dad, and it's like, I know where this is fucking going. I've been watching this film long enough that I know what's happening with that gun. I know where that's going to crop up again. And like, yeah, Jesus Christ, if you want to ruin your life for 4 days, The Iron Claw, everyone.
Don't think I'll watch it. I think I'll give that one a miss.
It is actually very good. I'm glad I watched it. But I'm also...
The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke is about as downer as I can go on that.
Yeah, on the scale of wrestling films which make you contemplate life, and after we looked at each other and we were like, they're supposed to be staying in for the night. And Lewis was just like, I feel like I need to go out and like see people. And I was like, I know what you mean. I need to see that life goes on. I need to see people, like, we just sat in the pub sort of looking at each other going, see, there are people around us. They're alive. They're happy. It can happen.
Yeah. I've watched plenty of movies like that and that's exactly it. You just need to go where people are living life without that movie in it. And just so you know everything's okay and it was just a movie.
Well, I've not seen, so the other 2 films that Sean Durkin made are Martha, Marcy May Marlene, which is like a psychological thriller about someone who escapes a cult.
Yeah, it's a really good one, that.
You give a kid a name like that, what's going to happen?
Exactly. And then there's another one called The Nest. I was looking at the plot, and once I'd seen the plot, I just went goodbye and turned the whole thing off. One of the plot points in that film is that they buy a horse. The horse hurts itself, so they shoot it and then they bury it, but they don't bury it properly, so it just kind of makes its way back out of the earth. And the second to last scene is just like a horse corpse rising from the ground. It's like, Jesus, mate, we need to chill out a little bit. Go and make Spy Kids 4 or something. But I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Why doesn't he chill out?
I'm just looking at his filmography, and he also was the executive producer on Christine, which isn't the Stephen King movie about a spooky car. It's about the news anchor who shot herself on TV.
Oh my God.
Oh, the Stephen King book? No. Put your drink down. I'll tell you about it.
This isn't about a Cadillac boy.
This is someone who's seen the body of work of Stephen King and gone, what a pussy. I can do it. Come on. Come on. Only one kid dies? What about 6?
Stephen King and Goosebumps are on the same shelf in his library. Jed?
Yeah, I'm next up. Yeah. So I've been home on my own pretty much all week because Laura's been in the Lake District. So I've been have some time to sort of catch up on some things. So one of the things that I like to do as well when I'm home alone is because I have the PlayStation VR and it's really hard to use if someone else is in the house because I don't want anyone like accidentally startling me while I've got a headset on and immersive like sound and everything. And so I decided to revisit Resident Evil Biohazard in VR, which I believe we spoke about it on an episode that we didn't actually release.
Yeah.
But
Is that 7? Resident Evil 7?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the one that it changes the format. So always since then, it's been pretty much any of the mainline Resident Evil games have been third person. So you've just been sort of walking, looking over the character's shoulder. But this one is just sort of first person, and you just play as this random guy who goes to look for his girlfriend in this decrepit house in Louisiana, and it's just one of the most horrible. It's just one of the whole, when you enter the house in the first place, you're just in a decrepit kitchen and you've got to like open like the fridge and there's just rotting food in the fridge, and even some sections of the game feel like found footage. Part of the thing because there's these tapes that you have and you find random tapes around the house. You end up putting them in a video cassette player and it comes on the TV, and then suddenly you're actually in the footage that's on the TV and you're like looking around. But also one of the family, there's like the Baker family. One of them is like an old lady in a wheelchair, and she just randomly turns up in rooms. Like you'll have been in that room before and you'll go back to that room to like save your game, whatever, and she's just randomly sat in the room, or she'll be like around the corner and she just comes out of nowhere. And sometimes the evil characters will grab you by the shoulder and spin you around while you're in VR, and you're just like sat on the sofa and you're just like, ugh. It's horrible. Even the loading screen is terrifying. You're like stood in a room where there's just chains hanging from the ceiling and there's like a desk in front of you with a tape recorder on it, and you're just like, what am I supposed to do here? Also, one of the bosses is a woman who climbs on the walls, and she's like the mother of the family, but she's like middle aged or like sort of somewhat elderly, and then she's got like pregnant stomach, and then she like gives birth to loads of like hornets, and then she like spits like acid at you, and you've got to like get her, you've got to shoot her, but then her arms and legs start extending across the room at you, and she's like crawling on the ceiling as like an insect.
This sounds incredible. It sounds better and better every time I hear about it.
It is.
We've played it together because Lewis will move the character, which I am not great at with my dodgy hands, but he will move the character, and I will go and pick that up, go and do that. That's important. That little object there, you will need that later on. Pick that up. I'm doing all of the like direction, and then I remember that woman because she sort of vomits acid into your face, which is fun. I can't imagine that in VR. I think I might end up in the street.
Yeah,
trying to get away from it.
There's some exclusive DLC as well that I downloaded, but I hadn't bothered to try out for a while. One of them is like a game that you play where you're strapped to a chair and he's like electrocuting you if you get the cars wrong. It's just really strange. But yeah, it's
something that Sean Durkin does just to wake himself up in the morning. Just plays that game in VR.
Just gives himself an electric shock to the balls. Like, another day in paradise.
Good morning, Sean.
But yeah, it's also in random intervals, the phone will ring in the house, and then you have to go and answer the phone, and it'll be someone who's like giving you tips on stuff. But it's just weird because you start to like hear the phone ring from another room when you're like miles away, and then you have to go and find it. And a lot of the monsters aren't like zombies because you don't really have zombies in this version of Resident Evil. You have these things that are like made of mold, and they like come out of the walls and they're just like horrible goo. But yeah, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted if you're going to play it in VR. And yeah, I only play it when I'm probably one thing to increase fear is I'm home alone anyway. But also, if I'm playing it, I do not want any unexpected surprises. So if someone like touches me on the shoulder while I'm playing that, I'm going to punch them in the face or something. So.
I'm surprised I haven't been, or maybe just not heard about it, but I'm surprised I haven't been more like serious accidents or deaths involved with these things. Because I remember seeing like there's like game playthroughs on YouTube that come up on like horror games, and like the guy's kid will come into the room and he'll like scream and jump because he wasn't expecting it. If you were doing something like that in VR and your kid has just wandered in the room and like grabbed hold of your leg, you'd stamp him into the ground.
Yeah,
You'd just be reacting to the game.
And I would 100%, if I knew that someone had a VR headset on playing Resident Evil 7, I would sneak into the room and just randomly throw little things at them from across the room, and just to make them.
Oh, you'd miss them so much, wouldn't you?
I'd like have a big bag of ping pong balls, and I'd just be like, bang, wah, bang, yeah. That'd be a fun game, and I would film it as well.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of the vein of the DLC. The DLC is called Banned Footage Volume 1 and 2. It's not.
Oh dear.
Because there's like the tapes that you find aren't actually anything to really do with the game. Because the house that the character's in was filmed by like an investigative sort of web series called Sewer Gators, and these people just end up getting like done over in the house. But yeah, they're the people.
It sounds like the sort of YouTube thing Finn would watch. Yeah. Sewer Gators.
Like Mr. Beast. How long can these people last in this house without being torn to shreds by a hornet eviscerating monster? Let's find out.
Tell me in the comments.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe for 1,000 hornets right through your letterbox.
If we get to 1,000 likes, she's going to spit acid in their face.
You also have a chainsaw fight in a room where there's like a load of bodies hung up on hooks, and like you have to dodge through the bodies. So they're swinging in the room. The guy like runs at you with a chainsaw. But yeah, Resident Evil Biohazard or Resident Evil 7 in VR, definitely not for the lighthearted, and best played alone, just so someone doesn't surprise you and you launch them into the stratosphere. That was the first thing that I was doing this week. Secondly, I've been catching up on. We watched a series a while ago. It was one of the first sort of flagship series for Apple TV called Servant, which is produced by M. Night Shyamalan. It's recently finished. I think it finished last year. I was just deciding to rewatch it. I don't know if anyone else has sort of called it out, but the basic premise of it is that they hire a nanny, and in the first episode you think, oh yeah, okay, it's a working family, they're just going to hire a nanny. But when they bring in the baby, it's just like a doll, and the mother's had like some traumatic experience where the child's died, and she's obviously latched onto the doll, but by circumstance, because the nanny's like past, she's got the ability to like, she's like a faith healer, and that's a part of the overall plot. But the baby doll becomes an actual baby, and everyone, like the woman whose doll it was, who's fixated on it, she doesn't notice anything different because she's always seen it as like a normal baby. But like her husband and her brother are just like, the fuck's going on here? But they don't want to snap her out of the delusion or she'll become catatonic again. Do they just play along with it? Yeah. And they're just like, now we've got this like random baby in the house, and they can't stop from like playing up the fact that she's now got this actual child instead of a doll. So they have to sort of play up to it or she'll completely lose her mind. But a lot of it is sort of cult related as well. But it's actually, her brother is played by Rupert Grint from Harry Potter as well. So it's but this is Ron Weasley if he was an alcoholic drug addict as well. So this is what happened after Hogwarts. He's gone off the rails completely, and he's lost his mind. it's just one of them series where you find yourself really dragged into. But also, if you like a bit of a culinary knowledge as well, like the main husband in it is like an epic chef, so his kitchen's just insane. He's got like a full on style like haute cuisine kitchen just in his house. He's always like making like these mad meals, whereas the nanny just eats these cans of soup. And he's just like staring at her going, "What are you doing? Why are you eating all that soup?"
Why are you eating all that soup? What's going on?
That really does sound like a line from an M. Night Shyamalan film. Why are you eating all that soup? That's just classic Shyamalan line. I love Lauren Ambrose.
Yeah, me too.
Toby Kebbell, so definitely give that a watch.
Yeah, it's just really, it was one of them ones where it kind of gets you. So you're just like, what's going to happen here? Like, is it actually a baby that she snuck into the house, or has she brought an actual doll to life? And she does have some mystical powers, but it kind of relies on it being a bit of a unreliable narrator as well, because it sort of twists and turns. You don't really know who's telling the truth and who's lying as well. But as it gets on into the later series, the supernatural elements kind of take over a little bit more. But it's definitely one to check out. The episodes are quite short as well. The episodes are only about half an hour, which is really quite rare in these days. You're not like sitting watching something. Yeah, like every single episode is like about an hour and a half or something. But this is like nicely condensed half an hour episodes, and then the mystery of it sort of peters out towards the end of the series overall. But the whole premise of, is it a baby, is it a doll, what's happening? Because it actually switches a few times. There's a few times where whenever they try to get rid of the nanny, the baby turns back into a doll, and you're just like, why the fuck does that keep happening? Also, the mystery of what happened to the real baby is just horrible. It's like, why are you rooting for these people? Like, you think, well, the nanny's like bad news, and then you find out really what happens, and you're just like, no, just let her burn the house down. Yeah, that was my week in horror, watching Servant and being terrified by Resident Evil with VR headset. Not to be recommended.
Almost falling out of a window playing Resident Evil. Could that happen in the game? Because do you actually walk? I've never done VR. Do you actually walk around and stuff?
Well, you move the controller forward, so that's how you move. It's not got up to the stage.
Because I'm so old and stupid, I'm thinking that you put the thing on and you actually walk around, but of course that's dumb.
You can do that in some games, though. Like you are supposed to
lean forward,
move around a bit.
You move your head around.
Because you just walk into stuff all the time and fall over. I'd walk straight off the balcony.
Well, have you not seen that clip of Ronnie O'Sullivan who has the VR headset playing snooker and he just tries to lean on the table which isn't there and just hits the deck? That's a classic. Because his muscle memory.
Have in 2 hours.
This is Ronnie O'Sullivan, the muscle memory. He's got a pool cue in his hand and a VR headset, and he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll just poof." He's trying to lean. Of course, he's trying to lean on the table. Of course, he's trying to do that. Everything every fibre of his being is leading to him needing to do that, and then he just hits this. Yeah,
I prefer to use
I'm sure there's been
internet,
I prefer to use the controller, because you have the PlayStation Move controllers, which are like two little sticks with like glowy balls on the end. But when you use them in the game, you just there's no way to make arms look natural in VR. It just ends up looking like bandy arms. You can be in the most tense moment, and then suddenly you Stretch Armstrong. It's like everything's just floating around, and they cross over with each other. You just like Mr. Tickle.
It sounds like a nightmare. Like there's some monster coming at you, and you're trying to fight them off, but your arms are just these big long noodles that keep getting wrapped up.
That's exactly what it's like. I remember playing Star Trek Bridge Commander, and I was just trying to press a button for 20 minutes, and I started putting the controller back in.
My week in horror, I'm just. I did watch some movies, but I might save those. There's one little bit in a cartoon my little girl was watching that I'll talk about, but then I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to talk about somebody else's life in horror.
Oh,
because it's way better than anything I could ever talk about. So Baby Shark cartoon. I looked over, and there's one where in one episode, Baby Shark's it's supposed to be a doctor, but they're all animals, so I'm going to say vet. And all the animals with injuries, so like the mum shark comes in and whatever, and there's sea life, monsters, dinosaurs. So there's a turtle with a straw up its nose, and you got to take the straw out and put all the ointment on and blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about, we've got to stop throwing stuff in the sea and trying to put this important message out. Monsters come in, and it's like Dracula bit something hard and broke his fang. Or there's a werewolf who hid his head on a branch. And then dinosaurs come in, and I'm like, well, you've just lost your message completely now. But one of them...
This is getting ridiculous, baby shark.
But one of them was kind of, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a bit gruesome. It's a seal with a net on them, like caught in a net. And it's lying in the hospital gurney. And they cut the net off. And it's all like red and sore and swollen where it's all cut into them. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit. And then it gets worse. The seal's heart stops.
Shit.
So then they start doing chest compressions.
This is a children's, this is a baby's show, right?
Yes. That doesn't work. So then they use a defibrillator on the seal and, oh, good, saved. And I'm like, I understand what you're trying to say, but don't have an animal die in front of my 2-year-old.
And don't
on
ask
a cartoon.
Don't ask Sean Durkin to guest direct your episode of Baby Shark. So I see you have here the seal kind of hurts its flipper on a sharp rock. What about he dies? So we could have like a net cutting him. It's all blood, and then what if his heart just stops, and they have to defibrillate? And like, Sean, and we've paid a lot of money, so.
If we do that, the seal has to recover and be okay. And he's like, fine.
Yeah, whatever. What if the seal has 6 brothers who all die? Can the seal's brothers die?
Also try and take on the fishing nets.
Jesus, I don't think you should let her watch that. Let her watch Animals of Farthing Wood instead. We were fine.
Or the first episode of Babar where his parents are killed. Wasn't any better for us when we were kids. It starts off with straight up just
stick on Watership Down and let her watch a real children's
used
show.
To be you send them off to war. Now it's, you know what I used to watch when I was a kid? Have a look at this.
Get like a double tape cassette pack of Plague Dogs and Watership Down.
Yeah.
We're having a double bill tonight.
All right, so just to give an introduction to this guy, this is my wife's stepfather, Fulvio. So obviously Italian, he's from Rome. He is probably the most amazing person I've ever met. One of my favorite people, which is an incredibly short list. Absolutely amazing guy. He was, so he's a mathematician in the craziest Goodwill Hunting sense. He speaks multiple languages. He'll just decide, oh, I fancy learning Mandarin or I fancy learning Russian. And he'll get goes to these classes and he'll get all the stuff on his phone and he'll get the keyboard layout. And now he speaks Russian, just like that. He's one of these super smart guys. He was a mathematician. He worked for NASA. He worked for all of these massive companies like that. I'm sure he said he worked for JPL or someone at some point. He worked on one of the research stations in the Antarctic. So he's asking me about my job. And compared to him, I'm a boring idiot. And he's like, oh yeah, communications stuff. He says, when we were in the Antarctic, we had to bounce our communications off the ionosphere to get the signal across. And I'm like,
what a pain.
Right, well, don't do that. These stories. Oh my God. I'll start. There's 3 and they get better. So I'll put them in order, which I think, I'll put them in order. So the first one was a few weeks ago. I got a phone call from the police after moving up to Queensland. But it was a call from Fulvio's phone. I'm like, oh, Fulvio's calling me. He's been looking after our dog while we moved up here into this apartment. So they're looking after our dog for a while, and she's had some health issues, so he's taking care of her. And he's calling me. I was like, oh, it'll be about the dog, or it'll be about a vet's appointment or something he thinks we should try or whatever. And I answer the phone and it's the police. And they want to know who they're speaking with. How do you know Fulvio? And I tell them what the relationship is. They said, oh, he's received a threatening phone call. And I'm like, oh, that's no good. And then they said, oh, he got a call from this number. So they've just called back the number from the voicemail. Like, if you want to return the call, press this. So, and it's called me because he didn't know. He's got a voicemail, and this is the police saying this. So you can imagine that it's, you know, it's not something he's just mistaken. It sounds like a shotgun is being fired over 6 seconds in this voicemail message. And I'm like, right. And she's like, in the call, the voicemail was from this, left by this number. And I look through my call, and the first thing that I think is, no, that's some sort of glitch, communications glitch. That's all it is. It's a noise. But the fact that it's the police saying it sounds like a shotgun, I'm like, okay, well, you probably know better than me what a shotgun sounds like. So my only reference being movies. So, and the Duke of Edinburgh Award where we got shot at salt pellets by a farmer. So I'm looking through my phone and I'm like, it call connected for 1 second. I've got it in my call history. It connected for 1 second and then it cut out. So it must have been like a pocket dial or a glitch or something like that. And then the sound that they're hearing is just this, you know, electronic connection sort of sound. So he's listened to this on his phone. He's got a voicemail. So first of all, missed call from me and then a voicemail. Because he's in his 70s, he doesn't put those two things together. He's like, oh, a voicemail. I wonder who that could be from. And he listens to it, and it sounds like a shotgun. I don't know if it's because he's from Italy. That's like, you know, someone's threatening me. That's Carmine or whatever. And then he sees Paul, and he's like, Paulie? Oh, no.
Is it Big Paulie or Little Paulie? Because I've only got beef with one of those guys.
Yeah. Is it Paul or Paulie? Because those
That's
are two
very
different
important,
things.
officer.
Either it's about why I can't connect my phone to the TV, or it's because of that thing in my past. And he's then, from there, again, being in his 70s, got his phone, because that's like it's evidence in his hand, you know, like it's a bloody handkerchief or something. And he's gone and got in the car and drove to the local police station and handed them the phone. Because that's the only way to get it to them and to contact them. I'm surprised he didn't send it in the post to them or something. Anyway, and the funniest part of the whole thing was, apart from this is just all bizarre, and the fact that he's like he's taking it straight to the police station and whatever, is he's like, and she's explaining it to him, and he's like, oh, okay, all right, that's fine. But who is it, by the way? And she says, oh, it's Paul. He goes, oh, Paul, great, let me speak to him. And he gets the phone, he goes, oh, Lossie's fine, by the way. We put her on these new painkillers. And then after he says goodbye, he doesn't hang up the phone. And I'm thinking I'll get the police officer again to tell me, okay, so obviously we're not, because they've got to say things like, oh, we're not pursuing this, blah, blah, blah. I was waiting for that. But he's just holding the phone while he's talking to her. And he's like, oh, so do you live in Canberra? Oh, so what's your name? And she says, oh, Bella. And he goes, oh, do you know what that means? And she's like, oh, yeah, beautiful. And he's like, yeah, did you speak Italian? But I'm pretty much like, he's just being super nice and a nice guy, but it sounds like he's like chatting her up. And he's just like sweet talking this police woman for about 5 minutes. And I'm like, right, I'm hanging up. They can call me back. So moving on from that story, which pales in comparison to these next two. The next story is, we're over at the in-laws having dinner or breakfast or something. And the mother-in-law's like, oh, Fulvio's really tired. He was up late. He got a phone call last night from Italy at like 3 a.m. We're like, oh, no. Because you imagine what that's going to be about. You know, death in the family or someone's in hospital or something like that. Yeah. So we got a call at 3 o'clock in the morning from the police in Italy. Because the family crypt had exploded.
That's never a good message.
How many people have received that call in history? The family crypt had exploded.
I have to say, Paul, I've been to an Italian graveyard, and there are lots of crypts there.
Well,
I
there
reckon
you go.
that's a speed dial at the Italian police station. It's like
It's a call,
number,
hopefully,
number 7.
none of us will have to receive in our lifetime.
I'm just
And
not going to get
because-
family crypts now, just in case.
As we said in episode 1, because he's got this strong European accent, we always call him Dracula and tease him. We thought a good amount of time had passed to be joking about it, which was about 10, 12 seconds after he walked in the room. Our 2 best ones were, so the villagers finally tracked them down. The other one was, did that, because they were talking about, like, how does that happen? Is it like, was there a gas main, and it's surely not in a cemetery? Is it gas in the, like, how does it happen? And we were like, did sunlight get in? Oh, so that was fantastic. And obviously, just being a lovely guy, little smile, and yeah.
Yeah, you don't have crypts over here. I keep forgetting you don't have crypts.
Family crypt exploded. So anyway, obviously, when you're an adult about it, when you're grown up about it, yeah, it's a terrible thing and whatever. But just because of how crazy it sounds, and because we always tease you about being Dracula.
Yeah, it's a very sad time for you, but it's also a very good time for us because we can make some really good jokes.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
I've got a podcast. This would be gold for.
Oh. The second we started doing this podcast, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell this story at some point.
Why did the crypt explode?
You know what? I don't know. We didn't care at the time. We were too busy making jokes. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it was all sorted out in the end. So now, hearing that story, you think, how are you going to top that story? What story could possibly be better than that one? Well, Fulvio tells a lot of stories about when he was a little boy. His father's Italian, his mum was Austrian, living in Italy. And he tells me all these childhood stories, and his mum used to make the best strudels and all this sort of stuff. And they're always lovely stories. Then comes this story, dogs. He had 2 dogs growing up. They were Dobermans, one called Donna and one called Blitzen. And he told me this story. It's easy to like ride the dogs around and play with them and jump on them, and they were just good as gold, lovely dogs. One night, they were all out. When they came back, they found 2 dead men in their house. One of them was like in the living room, dead on the floor, throat ripped out. The other one was just by the wall, like he tried to get up the back wall, and no chance. Throat ripped out on the floor. Dogs had got him. Donna and Blitzen, the Dobermans. Police came round. So these 2 men were burglars who'd broken into their house while they were out, and their Dobermans had immediately grabbed and killed both of them. Like, one guy almost made it out, but you're not getting away from that. And being the 40s in Italy, they were like, good dogs, real good dogs, like shaking hands, like, you'd be proud of those, good medal. Boys, get them a bone. Like, we've had a look and they've not had one yet. But good dogs, they got the burglars, they caught him, good job. So they, obviously packed them all up, cleaned it all up, good. How did the dogs know to do? Dogs are useless, generally. So where the dogs came from. So his dad had picked up these 2 dogs, absolute steal, couple of trained Dobermans to protect his house and his family. Sold. At that price, sold. The history of the dogs is that they were ex-SS attack dogs for the Nazis. So they've got 2 Nazi attack dogs. So and he tells us, like, at the end, he's like explaining, he's like, so obviously after the fall of the Nazi party, and they had all all their vehicles and all that stuff, and everything got seized and by the government and whatever. and obviously all their dogs. So they just gave them out to families and working farms and prisons and anywhere that needed dogs for security or whatever, guard dogs. And that's where his dad had picked them up for a steal and brought them home to his family.
This is a weird opportunity to segue, but
I also have an SS German attack dog.
No, but we recently went to watch the film that's on one of the most recent World War II films that's nominated for a bunch of awards at the moment, called Zone of Interest, which is a Holocaust movie itself. And obviously it's a depressing film, and it's quite somber and sad. But the commandant of Auschwitz has a dog, living in the house of his family, and that dog is having an absolute blast of a time on the set of the film. Like, there's a whole parts of the film, the dog's running around and he's playing with it, and the wife goes, "Come on, get down and stop being naughty," and he's Robert running away from the table with cakes and stuff, and we were just lead over to my girlfriend in the cinema. I was just that dog's having an absolute whale of a time there. It's he doesn't know he's in a Holocaust film. He's just having a party there.
And applause to someone who said, "It's a Holocaust movie. Where's the comedic?"
But there was a bit as well, we were watching in the cinema, and there's a bit where the commandant's wife walks to her bedroom, and she locks the dog out of the bedroom, and we both went, "Oh." don't mind all the murder going on behind the wall of the house. That's a bit mean, just to lock the dog out of the bedroom. He's just going to sit on the carpet. He's not going to do anything. But yeah.
Can I just? I was just wondering if, potentially that those two Dobermans did belong to Rudolf Hess, and and Fulvio ended up with him. But I was just Googling, what's the name of the dog owned by Rudolf Hess, and it's I found a great headline on Wales Online that just says, "Nazi war criminal's greyhound was a regular at a Merthyr dog track." He had a greyhound called Nimrod.
Every cloud.
and he used to race it at Merthyr.
Wow.
Jesus, there's a whole section of dogs owned by this. Actually reminds me. Funny, we're talking about dogs owned by evil people, but Myra Hindley's dog Puppet was taken away when they arrested her. And they told her that the dog had died, and that was the sort of official story. Oh, he just died, and she was like, "You've killed him as retribution for me." And she was really, that said, that it was the only time she was really showing emotion was when they said, "Oh, your dog's dead." And there was a woman in a pub in Manchester who used to own a pub in Manchester, and she maintained that she owned that dog. That basically she knew one of the police officers who was on the Hindley case, the Moors murders case, who just one night knocked on the door and said, "Do you want this dog? We need someone to look after this dog." And she's like, "Yeah, sure." No mention of where it had come from. Just yeah, okay. And, it's "Oh, we need someone to look after the dog. The owner can't look after it anymore." And she found out later that she owned Myra Hindley's dog.
Would it be important to give the background on the dog? I mean, I don't think the dog was involved, was it?
No, but it's just
it's not like they shut the door and the dog looks around and goes da 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 da. The shifty eyes.
They will if you set up that the dog is evil. All you have to do is show him doing this. And people will suspect the dog.
It's something that I think I would appreciate knowing, because it came out in the press ultimately that that the dog had been taken away from her. When they released all she was telling her story and everything, and then this woman's like, "Oh shit, that's my dog."
To be fair, if I know Northerners, if people had found out that was Myra Hindley's dog, they would have been throwing bricks and all sorts at that house. You've got a killer's dog,
murderer.
That was one of Hitler's last kind of missives. Was make sure you shoot my dog Blondie, because if they capture her, they'll be mean to her. And it's You've just fucking caused a genocide, mate. He's like, yeah, but not the dog. You leave my dog alone. It's not fair.
Don't drag the dogs into this.
But the dog didn't commit any war crime. Just starting off with Arachnophobia, just obviously, which is released in 1990. So this is the third part of the sort of trip through the 90s, but in different sort of orders. So it's directed by Frank Marshall. I think one of the best things about Arachnophobia is it takes place obviously in suburbia, but it just everybody in it is just like a bit of a sort of weird sort of madcap person anyway. But one of the things that always sticks in my mind is where John Goodman comes in as like a completely off the wall exterminator, and he's just completely out of his depth. He's like he tries to like use a flamethrower at one point, and it's like why is it an exterminator using a flamethrower in someone's basement? Also, it's another great film is the late great Julian Sands, which happens to be one of the best people in sort of kooky sort of horror films. He has one of them faces which he just made for sort of medium budget horror films. Completely choose the scenery and everything he's in. But Arachnophobia has those moments where it's like it's still quite silly and funny, but there's parts of it you were just like, that's horrible. Like, no, it's completely like one bite and everyone's dead. You're just like, I had enough of this. I remember it being one of the first films I was completely terrified at. I was as a child.
I remember going to see something else at the Odeon in Warrington and seeing the big like cardboard advert of Arachnophobia and going, oh God, I want to see that. I would have been like 10 and it was just not allowed. And I was like, oh, what? I'm desperate to see this. And then like when I finally saw it, I was just thinking of the scene where they go and the couple have been watching Wheel of Fortune and like they've eaten the spider and the spider just crawls out of his nose while they're sat there. It's just like it's like no, and like there's a nice little moment where so you got Julian Sands, who's like this very well-to-do kind of like English expert in spiders, and then John Goodman comes in and he's got this like massive like ridiculous baseball cap on and he's like got Bugs Be Gone on the side of his van, and he meets like Julian Sands and he's like, nice to meet a colleague. Just like that little moment, like a colleague.
I'm going to move on to the next film, which is 1991's People Under the Stairs, which is just all round terrifying. They're like directed by the late great Wes Craven. It's just one of them movies where again, one of them films where you'd watch it like every so often, but it's really uneasy even when you watch it, like just the once after not watching it for a long time. I mean, the couple in it as well who play the parents, or sort of mommy and daddy as they refer to in the film, are just really creepy. They were regulars on Twin Peaks as well. They got those sort of faces, which is just absolutely unnerving. But it's definitely one of them films where there's parts of it that just really stick in your mind. Where people like their mouths sewn up or their eyes like burned out, and there's one bit as well where they force the girl to have like a scalding hot bath, and every time you make a bath, you just afterwards for like a while you just like I better not like burn me skin up or something. But Jordan Peele is developing the remake at the moment, which may be a little bit unwise considering the fact that it is one of the sort of timeless classics. But it's just really unsettling. It's just one of them films where every so often you watch it and you're just like, ugh, I do not want to be anywhere near that sort of thing. It's kind of like the serious version of that Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs. These are like the people that Tom Hanks thought was living next door to him in The Burbs are actually the people in People Under the Stairs. But definitely unnerving, and you want to stay out of the basement. It's definitely one of the more serious horror films that Wes Craven made. I mean, even like Nightmare on Elm Street or Scream have like a sort of light-hearted part of it, but this is more in the vein of sort of The Hills Have Eyes or Last House on the Left. So this is one of his segues into actually trying to make you completely terrified instead of, just trying to make you have little moments. Like there was the whole Nightmare on Elm Street thing kind of got away from Wes Craven after a while, and there was even like a Freddy Krueger cartoon series. It's like, isn't he supposed to be a child murderer? Like this is a Saturday morning cartoon. They even had like a premium phone number for Freddy Krueger where you could like ring him up and he'd be like telling you like horror stories down the phone. Like he's supposed to be murdering children. Like he's spending like $1 a time to give him a ring and that. But yeah.
I know every generation would say this about the period in which they grew up, but growing up in the 80s and 90s was the absolute fucking best.
It's certainly one of the more unhinged times in history, especially for tying in odd things. Like there was a RoboCop Saturday morning cartoon. It's like, I've seen the film of that, and in the first film he shoots someone's dick off. And like just what's left of Alex Murphy after he's been murdered by the dad from that 70s show. It's just horrific. There's nothing left of RoboCop at the end of that. He's just mincing in like a grey poster. But yeah, I mean, People Under the Stairs is certainly one to watch, but certainly with caution. I'm going to move this on to 1992, which is the final movie in this, which is the classic The Lawnmower Man, which is notoriously a film that Stephen King disowned because the story that he wrote was nothing like the short story that he wrote called Cyber God. But I'm just going to pop a picture into the chat because if you haven't seen Lawnmower Man for a while, the one thing that really strikes out is the fact that Lawnmower Man doesn't start with a lawnmower man. It starts with a chimp who's been subject to the same experiment the Lawnmower Man undergoes. But he starts off as like the predator. So like the whole premise of the first like 5-10 minutes of the Lawnmower Man is the fact that this ape also with like advanced intelligence somehow gets a gun and goes on a rampage with like a electronic visor, which gives him the ability to see thermal imaging. Like I've just popped it into the chat now. They literally turn a chimpanzee into RoboCop.
I love this little bandolier that he's
It's
got.
an unintentional segue back to talking about RoboCop, but the first 5-10 minutes of Lawnmower Man happen to be some of the most unintentionally surreal parts ever. But also it's just weird, like that how. Also, if you remember in Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller's character, where he has that film that he tried to do as an Oscar bait role. So the guy who plays Job in the Lawnmower Man is literally just Simple Jack, not played for laugh.
I think you've got a fine brain, Jack.
You make me happy.
But then Pierce Brosnan gives him injections of drugs and then subjects him to like VR, but in like a weird sort of. He's in one of them things that you used to see at like fairs where you'd like stand in it and you'd be in like a gyroscope and spinning around, because for some reason that's what makes him smart again. But it just gets even weirder, and some of the special effects are just insane. It's just completely massive pixelated heads in the sky, and for some reason as well, he gets to the point where he's able to do telekinetic stuff. And he's like psychic, he can hear thoughts and he's able to move things with his mind. But the first thing that he does is he still uses it to move the lawnmower. He's just like, he stood on a balcony, sipping some lemonade, like moving the lawnmower with his mind. It's like, at that point, maybe you can do something. Maybe it's time just to stop mowing people's grass. It's also got notoriously one of the hardest old school SNES games to do. I remember watching the film as a kid and then renting the game for the Super NES, and it being one of the hardest things ever. It was I couldn't even get past the first 2 minutes of the game while renting it from like Blockbuster Video or something. It was just notoriously hard. It was just so difficult, and it was just the game was more of a letdown than the film, and the film itself is notoriously bad. It was made on. It was also a hit. I mean, everybody thinks that this was a shit film, but it was made on a budget of $10 million and it made $150 million.
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah.
Considering it was a terrible film, it did quite well. But yeah, monkeys with visors and guns aside, it's still a piece of shit. But it's still it's still worth watching. But also, if you ever get a chance to watch it, for some reason, he is recast by Max Headroom himself, Matt Frewer, in the sequel. It's a surreal sequel as well. I'm not going to delve too much into Lawnmower Man 2, but it's definitely one to miss as well. But yeah, that's the end of this one, and that sort of leads us into the end of the 90s. The next part is 1999, which will have 3 films entirely from that year. But Lawnmower Man, definitely one to not go into with too many high hopes if you haven't seen it already.
It's the toys.
Demonic toys. Playtime has begun.
So these are toys that I found online, like more vintage toys that I thought were a bit scarier somehow than the 80s, 90s toys. God, they are. So there's this one toy. They're not meant to be horror toys, but there's one called Skinny Bones, and it's these plastic brown shoes, a couple of hands, and a head that looks as angry and confused as I am looking at it. Then just connected by all these like tubes and joints, and it's one of the Bones family. And you basically put this doll together. If you look at Skinny Bones,
I've got it in front of me.
Look at its face.
What's the point?
It's like,
of it?
why is this happening to me? Where are my parents?
What would you? I don't understand why you would play with it though. What
do you do when it's finished?
I don't. Yeah, what's the?
That is horrible.
And its arms are twice the length of its legs. It can't stand. And if you look at the girl's expression on the box, she's like she's creating something to kill with, while her brother's just having fun.
It looks like something out of Sid's bedroom in Toy Story.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's fun, though, apparently.
I really don't understand the design of the toy. Like, why would a kid want that?
But if that troubles you...
What does it do?
Then check out his sister, Ginny Bones.
Ginny Bones.
She seems a bit happier about it. She's accepted that she's now a pile of sticks. And her legs seem to be in better proportion.
They're £300 if you want to buy one.
Oh God, they have a dog as well.
They have a dog.
Oh, what's the dog called?
I don't know.
Oh, Hambones.
Hambo! How very 50s.
The dog is terrifying.
Hambones.
The dog's really scary.
So there's those.
His face.
And we'll post all of this in the socials. They're just amazing. One that's actually really good, and I wish I owned, is called Horoscope Movie Viewer. And it's this green plastic box with a little like pink bat sticker on, which is amazing. I want the sticker as well. And it's 4 full-length silent movies in like flipbook fashion, and you turn the dial and they play.
Oh wow!
Through like the viewing window. That's amazing. It's got collector's item written all over it.
$9,000 if you want one.
Oh well, maybe I won't get one.
Because they're so rare.
You know what? I'll get my mate to 3D print one. I haven't lent on him that much about his 3D printer yet, but I will. Wait till Christmas comes. I'll be like, can you make toys for my kids for Christmas with your 3D printer? And finally, this is something that just turned up in the images, and it's not a real horror toy. I don't even know how this thing exists, and that's probably the most troubling thing about it. Imagine if you had a crocodile Like, think you're a mad scientist who combines creatures to make super creatures. A crocodile and Big Bird from Sesame Street. And you will find this animal. I'm going to send it in the chat now on my phone because you're not going to find it anywhere. I think I only found it as some sort of like supernatural thing, and it'll just keep popping up everywhere I look now. And then I have to own one, and then I'll go mad. So,
What the hell is that?
and it looks surprised as well. Like, why do I exist? I love its stripes.
Where's that?
What is that? Why would someone produce that? What even is it? How would you sell it?
See, the toy development kind of. I always think of it's just exactly like the film Big, where they're like pitching something in a big room, and they're like, "Oh, kids will love this," and someone's just like, "Oh, look, kids love Big Bird, and kids love reptiles. Let's combine them." And just this is what it's going to look like. Oh yeah, fine. Just fucking it. It's 5 to 5. We can either beat the traffic and come up with, and put this piece of shit out, or we can come up with something else. Who's for just fine.
And why don't after that movie? Why doesn't every company have a Tom Hanks style character who's like, no, that's shit. No one wants that. Where are those people?
Yeah, or a child. Like, get a child. Would you like to play with this? No. It's mental.
It's like when I was trying to teach Finn about electronics yesterday. He's got these 2 lights that he got. We got him one and one from his birthday, and they're battery powered. And I'm like, they're going to get left on, or he wants to use them as a night light. We'll be replacing the batteries all the time. I've got to go out and buy batteries, so it'll be 4 days when they don't work. It'll be a nightmare. It's 3 AAA batteries. I'll just wire them both up to a 5-volt power supply and be done with it. And I'm trying to show him how it all works, and like, see, we don't have to buy batteries ever again for these things. They're permanently on whenever we want. We just plug it in, and I can run both of them off this one thing. And this is how it. I was like, and then finally at the end, after doing it all, plugged them in, switched it on, and showed him. And I was like, isn't that cool how we did that? And he was like, no, while he's watching TV.
I hate this. You're making me learn.
And finally, for this segment, I've just put on. So there's a movie in the 90s, Jed, that you should definitely do at some point called Castle Freak. It gets really mixed reviews between it's awesome and it's awful. But it gets good critic reviews, right? But being a 90s movie, of course, the first thing they do is they go nuts and run out and get a heap of action figures made that nobody's going to buy. Because this is a horror movie for adults. Like, kids don't watch it. So who's buying the action figure? And it wasn't like a cult thing, really. It was like an okay, weird movie. And that if you read the plot of this movie, it's bonkers. But it's apparently quite a good movie. I've not seen it. It's one of these things that comes up and the announcer says, Castle Freak.
Castle Freak.
And then starts giving you the rundown of it. And I will watch it because it's on Shudder. But I just saw that the action figure complete with the cat that he eats. I'm like, what the hell is that? Why make that? And you can,
when
if
you want to do like the play set.
Exactly, like it goes into the castle that you can buy as well or something. But if you think of like the amount of people and time and money involved to make this a thing that hangs on a hanger in a shop, why? There's no audience for that. Anyway, that's toys. I was angry at the toys this week.
I'm so angry at you, toys.
Welcome to Needful Things.
All right, Needful Things. I've got a couple of things for Needful Things, but Jed's chomping at the bit. Jed's got something good again. It's going to be the Leatherface jumper all over again. Let's go, Jed.
Okay, so no, okay, so I've got an absolute two absolute bangers this time. So
Jed pick some ringers.
Oh no, this is I absolutely couldn't stop laughing, and my girlfriend turned around and was like, "Why are you laughing so much?" And I had to explain it, and she didn't get it. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a massive Star Trek fan. So I was looking for sort of random merchandise, and I found out that inside of the Star Trek sort of merchandise thing, there is quite a large sort of subculture where people have Christmas ornaments. So instead of like hanging baubles around the Christmas tree, they will have things like the ships and so on. But Hallmark do it for Star Trek fans officially through their website. And in 2009, they released probably one of the best Christmas ornaments you've ever seen on the face of the earth. So I'm just going to post this in the chat now. This is a genuine Christmas ornament from the episode The Menagerie of of Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and the paralysed Captain Christopher Pike in a wheelchair. The hands. This and just so you don't, if you don't think that this is actually legit, this is the post with the background behind it, and it also comes with a photo of how it's supposed to hang from the tree with the two of them either side of it. But it gets better. It gets better. I have the synopsis from Hallmark for this, and it goes. The ornament utilizes watch-style batteries included in brackets to engage its light and sound effects. Of course, Pike's lights beeps excellently coordinated with the dialogue from the episode featured with the ornament. What is also nice is that lines from the episode are about friendship and helping, appropriate ideas for any holiday celebration. So if you've not seen this episode, Captain Pike has been paralysed and can only speak by beeping yes or no. So the Christmas ornament happens to beep yes or no, and has quotes from Spock and Kirk. And you just press the button on the front of his wheelchair to make it sound.
Merry Christmas.
But yeah, if you want to have a cheery moment around your Christmas tree, you can have the injured and paralysed Captain Pike with a concerned Spock and a quizziting Captain Kirk hanging from your Christmas tree.
I love the look on Spock's face.
Oh, that's amazing, Jed. Well done.
And if you think that was hard to top, I'm going to move on to the next one. So this is absolutely, I think while browsing Facebook Marketplace, I accidentally stumbled upon the Marketplace account of a serial killer. So this person is selling the title for the listing is coffin, full size, and it's like a homemade coffin with a window inside of the coffin. And I've just posted it into the chat, and then this is the inside of the coffin. It's just like a thing, but the listing is just weird. Like, I'm going to share the listing as well. He put the listing as coffin, full size for hire or for sale, very heavy wood. Other options, if you can store it, you can have unlimited use. And that's the listing. But I thought that's a bit of a weird thing to say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this guy's link to his Marketplace account, because I thought, what sort of psychopath has a Marketplace account that sells a coffin? So then don't say the name, because obviously we want to remain private, because this is just something that we're going to laugh at. But you go into it, it's his account, and it says he's selling, the things that he's selling is original newspaper advertisements, and it's got like an advert for a rubber mini dress. There's an assorted bag of mixed bag of jewellery. He also sells a black bin bag of toys.
Suitcases!
Yeah, suitcases, black bags of toys. It's a surprise. And then you go down, and one of the worst ones is, if you scroll down, he's got a pic, it says free, and then you go on it, and it goes, free £20 notes, and it goes, I need some photos taken. I've got an unusual use for it. If you want some money. And then there's one of the listings where it goes, if for £40, and it goes, hi, I hope it's okay to ask this. I'm looking for an overgrown garden, or of a place where I can dig.
Oh my God! You've got to report this. This is crazy. This is an actual killer. You found a killer online.
He's selling suitcases, an assorted bag of jewellery, people's a full-size coffin, random adverts that are cut out from newspaper, and a bag of jewellery.
And the title of that is Scary Bizarre Video. And it's like a grave, and the picture is of a grave. Like a DIY grave. I hope it's okay to ask this one for overgrown garden. This guy's a killer.
Have you seen the one that says "Chance to help me with a project, £40"? And it's a woman stood next to a bed, sort of putting like plastic covering over a bed.
I'm working on a project I need assistance with. And that's
it. Doesn't say anything else. It doesn't say anything else.
This podcast has just found an active serial killer in England.
Just in case Kirsty's interested, he's also selling a One Direction bag.
I can see the One Direction. There's a One Direction bag and birthday card, and I have received both of those items as presents.
Kids' football boots.
Oh my god!
Mixed lot of new items. Like new to him because they belong to the person he killed.
It's just like an old pair of flip-flops and like a ruler.
Wow.
Yeah, steel toe cap boots, a coffin, assorted jewellery, some bin bags full of toys, giant wrapping paper.
There's more than one coffin as well, and there's a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of suitcases. Slight blood stains on the suitcases. Magic box. And what that just says magic box. Mystery box. See pictures for content. Jesus, what the fuck?
Yeah, but a rather unnerving Facebook Marketplace account.
Wow.
Flame burner used.
Yeah, flame burner used.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Facebook Marketplace, definitely one place to show your tat and possibly be murdered.
If I was a detective, I would be following this up. Just a house call.
I like the black bag of toys. It's like he doesn't use punctuation very well, this gentleman, but he does use it in a very important sense here because it says black bag of toys. It's a surprise. It includes frozen kids. Frozen kids dolls station. It says frozen, kids stationery, and then it just says leg ... which turns out to be Lego. But leg.
Oh wow.
Oh my word. Well, that's the end of the podcast because we've uncovered a killer, and now all of our recordings are going to be impounded.
Oh wow.
I like that he sold his beard baubles that he put up there though for £3.
But just like the coffin has a window, he needs to see inside.
Sorry, the magic box that he's selling, mystery box, see pictures for content. If you look at the third picture, there just seems to be like documents inside it.
He's also selling a metal letter C, large.
But how big is it? I love the idea. I really need a metal letter C, but I need it to be certain dimensions. So could you please put those?
It's a very nice gift, he says.
To someone whose name begins with a C. Or maybe someone just who likes the alphabet in general.
Like the magic box has just got like a padlock in it and then a rock with some runes on it. Like this guy is weird.
His cover, like there's a profile picture and then his cover photo, like the banner across the top, just looks like hanging plastic bags or something.
You can't see what it is.
In various colours. Well, there'll be bodies in them, I imagine. I don't even feel like taking a turn now. I feel like I'd be wasting my time, to be honest.
I'm so upset.
I mean, do we save ours till next week, Kirsty? Because I don't even want to.
I don't think we can stop that, and I don't wish to.
I don't even want to do it now. Well, for the listeners, look.
We found Buffalo Bill's Marketplace.
For the listeners, we Jed and I also found more of these. Remember the sexy cushion? We found more, but I just don't want to do it now.
I feel like I did after I watched The Iron Claw. I feel like I just need to go and like attach myself to find some people who are alive and happy.
I need to seriously consider
he's killed
how
people.
I act on this because I feel like I need to act on this, Jed. I feel hopefully it's just some like old fella who collects garbage and then sells it, but there's just too many flags in there for me. There's too many red flags.
I need somewhere to dig.
And it's come and help me with a project for cash. It's like, you're never going to see those people again.
The project is, how long will the bodies remain undiscovered? Jesus Christ.
Well, maybe more from us in a couple of weeks with episode 6. Maybe not. Keep an eye on our socials and keep an eye on your local newspaper and news channels, because this might be it.
I set up the emergency contact information on my phone this afternoon, which I didn't know was you know, when you sort of you need to unlock your phone and it says emergency.
Oh, this is too much of a coincidence, Kirsty.
I felt something was going to happen. Now Lewis can't help me because he can't walk.
I feel good about the fact that I'm the one who's on the other side of the world. So I'm the one in the movie who would be like fraught and trying to discover and do stuff remotely and trying to call the police on the phone at 3 a.m. and that sort of thing. But happy that I'm not actually within striking distance of this killer. I'm happy to play that character.
The first scene of the film is you getting off the plane and someone saying, "So, what brings you back to the UK?" And you're just like, "Justice." Just like getting like staying in a hotel in Runcorn. It's like, "Oh, are you from out of town?" I'm from Runcorn. I've just been away for a while. "Oh, coming back to see family?" No, not anymore.
And just in case anyone, wink, wink, we know, happens to listen to this podcast, I am a coward and I will not be leaving the country.
I'm just going to go and find a nice picture of myself for when my body's found.
Don't look because for me, I am inconsequential.
What I don't want Lewis to do is just like look back through our WhatsApp discussions and like post a really awful picture of me. I'm going to send him one that I want to be on the news when they find my body.
But don't you see, now with Lewis incapacitated, this is when the killer strikes.
This is exactly what I'm thinking. So now I need to
protect you anymore, Kirsty.
I need to talk to the yeah. That's probably something that they were looking at. They were like, do you know her partner actually does jiu-jitsu? All right, well we need to take him out of the picture. I need to ask Lewis if the guy who he was. I need to ask the guy who is the guy you were wrestling with when you hurt yourself. Is that a new guy at the jiu-jitsu gym? Yeah, he is a new guy. Yeah. Never seen him before. Bit of a strange guy. Like, you know, he came with a big suitcase. Right.
Oh no.
Oh, my front door is so flimsy as well.
This is when we start looking at what have we got here? What's my fortress?
I was browsing for new front doors the other day because I was like, that's not going to withstand a heavy kick.
I keep putting off fixing that window latch.
I'm going to make sure I've secured the alley gates because it's bin day yesterday.
Do yourself a favour while you're still able to. Get out to your nearest charity shop and flick through the shelves to see if you can find the Haynes manual for a 2006 Mitsubishi Shogun. It's your only hope.
From before. From the episode before.
Previously on.
Anyway, we'll, along with all the photos of everything we've just talked about on our socials, we will be posting Jed's home address.
And a list of his fears.
He'll go in and Jed will be in VR. Oh, God! Or you know what it'll be? It'll be like the end of Assignment Miami Beach. Jed will, unbeknownst to him, swing around and knock out the killer while he's playing Resident Evil VR. And there'll be a photo of him looking bemused, having just taken off the headset with the guy on the ground. Local hero stops killer.
Local man confused and safe from killer.
Oh.
I didn't mean to do it, but I'm glad I did. I told you I had some goals.